Hello and welcome to From Digital to D&D. In this series, a character from fiction is taken and given a usable stat block for you to use in your games of Dungeons & Dragons. For those of you unaware, each episode of this series will be broken down into the following sections. The character introduction, where I attempt to explain the background of the character. The feature breakdown, where I point out what aspects of the character I'll be attempted to convert. The stat block, where I show off the monster sheet and explain how it works and how to use it. And finally, the plot hooks, where I explain possible uses for the character in your games of D&D. Naturally, any character that features in this series belongs to their respective owners. Today, we're going to look at the perfect organism. One whose structural perfection is only matched by its hostility. I give you the Xenomorph.
Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility. I admire its purity. A survivor. Unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality.
I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies.
The Xenomorph, also referred to as the Alien, first appeared in 1979 in the movie Alien. Created and inspired by the works of H.R. Geiger, the Xenomorph is one of the most terrifying creatures from beyond the stars. In the original movie, the crew of the starship Nostromo awakened to find a distress signal from an alien vessel. During their investigation, they locate a chamber full of large fleshy eggs, and from one egg, a creature known as a facehugger bursts from the egg and latches onto the face of a crew member. Unknown to the crew, this creature deposited an embryo into the crew member, and after a time, the embryo grew. Once large enough, it began to force its way out of the chest of the crew member. This chestburster quickly scarpered and in a shockingly brief time period matured into what we know as a Xenomorph. This predator picked off each member of the crew one at a time until the final member, Ellen Ripley, managed to force the alien out of the airlock. However, more Xenomorphs would appear many more times. An outbreak occurred on the planet LV-426, and it became clear that the Xenomorphs have similar behaviours to insects, as they converted a large section of the human colony there into a hive. Within this hive resided the Xenomorph Queen, who lay more eggs with each passing day. We saw the different castes of Xenomorphs, ranging from the lowly drone to the Queen herself, each serving a purpose. Though this infestation would be destroyed, the plague of the Xenomorphs would come to affect the galaxy forever. All it takes is a single egg, and a whole planet can fall in its wake. Though their origins are unclear, one thing is certain. When hunted by a Xenomorph in the depths of space, nobody will hear you scream. Xenomorphs are a fascinating species, as they are some of the most lethal hunters in fiction. Almost every part of their body is designed to assist them in hunting prey. They could swap between bipedal and quadrupedal movement with ease, moving incredibly fast in both forms of movement. They are masterful climbers and swimmers, moving with the same level of speed and grace. The biomechanical exoskeleton is highly durable. For a firearm to penetrate the exoskeleton, it must have the same or greater power as a 12-gauge shotgun. This enclosed exoskeleton allows a Xenomorph to withstand almost any environment. Though uncertain as to their exact purpose, the dorsal spines may serve as a breathing apparatus or sensory organ, or possibly some other purpose. Even inhospitable environments won't kill a Xenomorph straight away, as they have been seen withstanding the vacuum of space for periods of time. The only environments they struggle with are those with rapid changes in temperature. Heat is the only real weakness of a Xenomorph, as the slime that coats their form is susceptible to fire, a Xenomorph usually fleeing from bursts of flame. Their long forearms end with sharp claws able to tear through metal and flesh. The tail of a Xenomorph usually ends with a sharp point, which can be used to impale their prey or lacerate them. Despite the thinner frame, they are very strong and very fast, able to lift and toss humans with ease. The maw is lined with sharp teeth, but contained within the mouth is a smaller mouth able to stab forward with a burst of speed. This particular appendage is able to pierce through almost anything, even the toughest of armor. Xenomorphs have the ultimate defense mechanism in their acidic blood. This corrosive liquid could dissolve through almost anything in a matter of seconds, especially flesh. Some xenomorphs weaponize this trait and use their acidic blood as a highly potent tool. The stealth capabilities are unmatched as they give off no heat and instead match the environment they are in, making them almost invisible to thermal vision. The dark coloration helps them blend into the dark and they can move almost silently when they want to. When alone, stealth is their key tool as they will slowly stalk prey and wait for the perfect time to strike. Should a xenomorph be in a group, they may opt for using their numbers to overwhelm their prey. They are the perfect survivors. No matter what happens to them, they will always be the hunter even if they started as prey. The Xenomorph is an icon of horror, one who needs little introduction. With the announcement of a new movie coming out soon, I thought it would be a nice time to bring this titan of horror to this series. Whilst I may return to do the many variations of Xenomorph in the future, I thought we should start with the basics, the classic Xenomorph. And here it is. Given just how much the Xenomorph has going for it, this was a harder sheet to make. Like always, you're more than welcome to look through it in your own time. I'll start making my way through it now for a more detailed breakdown. The Xenomorph is a medium aberration. I say aberration due to their distant origins, and aberrations are alien to the planes. I decided to make the Xenomorph unaligned as when you think about it, they're just going off their survival instinct. They're like other predators such as cats. They have no real concept or understanding of good and evil, order and chaos. They may play with their food, but is that really enough to warrant an alignment? They're apex predators, plain and simple. We just view them as evil as we are the prey. The Xenomorph has an armor class of 16, which comes from its natural armor. It has an average of 71 hit points, which comes from its 9d8 hit dice and 31 constitution bonus. They have a 40-foot walking speed, climbing speed, and swimming speed. Next are the stats, and the Xenomorph has the following: 20 strength, 20 dexterity, 17 constitution, 6 intelligence, 15 wisdom, and 8 charisma. They have a +6 to constitution saving throws and +5 to wisdom saving throws. They also have +8 to athletics checks, +8 to perception checks, and +11 to stealth checks. Thanks to their durable exoskeleton, they have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks that aren't adamantine. They have one immunity, and that is acid damage. As for senses, the Xenomorph's method of seeing is highly debated. Their skull suggests eyes, but sometimes they seem to use other senses such as echolocation. For that reason, I gave it blind sight out to 60 feet. Thanks to its expertise, the Xenomorph has a 18 passive perception. Though it is not a language in the traditional sense, Xenomorphs can communicate with each other as best seen with the Queen, so Xenomorphs can speak their own tongue. Plus, it might make for an interesting encounter if the party have a way to translate. The Xenomorph comes in with a challenge rating of 7, making it highly dangerous for low-level parties and still a threat to high-level parties. We come to the traits now, and the first trait is acidic blood. When the Xenomorph takes bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, each creature within 5 feet of the Xenomorph takes 3d6 acid damage. The weapon that hits the Xenomorph also corrodes if it's non-magical. It suffers a -1 penalty to its damage rolls, and if it gets to -5, it is destroyed. Non-magical ammunition is simply destroyed. Adaptable makes the Xenomorph immune to all environmental effects except for extreme heat. This means it can survive without issue in almost any environment. Coastal, forest, swamp, underground, urban, all of them are habitable. The trait also makes the Xenomorph immune to the speed reduction of natural, non-magical difficult terrain. Ambush can only kick in during the Xenomorph's first round of combat. It has advantage on its attack rolls against creatures that haven't taken a turn yet, and any hits are critical hits. Next is Amphibious, which lets the Xenomorph breathe both air and water. The next trait is Aversion to Fire. If the Xenomorph takes fire damage, it must make a Wisdom saving throw. The DC is 5 plus the fire damage taken. On a failed save, the Xenomorph is frightened until the end of its next turn. Pack tactics should be familiar to a lot of you. The Xenomorph has advantage on its attacks if at least one ally is within 5 feet of the target creature and isn't incapacitated. Next is Sneak Attack. Sneak Attack can only go off once per turn. If the Xenomorph has advantage on an attack or an ally is within 5 feet of the target and isn't incapacitated, the Xenomorph can deal 4d6 extra damage of the same type as the attack. The Xenomorph can't have disadvantage, however, or else this trait won't work. Spider Climb simply lets the Xenomorph climb along difficult surfaces without issue. The Xenomorph's final trait is Thermal Camouflage. If a creature uses heat to see, the Xenomorph is invisible to it. This is a niche trait, and thermal vision isn't really a thing in 5e, but it's there just in case. Now we move on to actions, and the first option is multi-attack. The Xenomorph makes 2 claw attacks and 1 tail attack. However, the first attack option is Bite. Bite is a melee weapon attack with a +8 to hit, but it can only be made against a creature within 5 feet that is grappled by the Xenomorph, incapacitated, or restrained. On a hit, the creature takes 6d12 plus 5 piercing damage. If the damage reduces the creature to 0 hit points, it dies instantly as the Xenomorph punctures its skull. Claw is a melee weapon attack with a +8 to hit to get one target within 5 feet. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 plus 5 slashing damage. If the target is hit by this attack twice in one turn, the Xenomorph can choose to grapple the target, which has an escape DC of 16. Tail is also a melee weapon attack with a +8 to hit against one target within 10 feet. On a hit, the target takes 1d10 plus 5 piercing, and if the attack is a critical hit, the Xenomorph can choose to grapple the target with the same escape DC. The last section is bonus actions, and the Xenomorph has one option. Alien Speed lets it take the dash or hide action. But there's one more thing to mention, a variant feature available to the Xenomorph. Some Xenomorphs are able to project their acidic blood as a weapon, and you can choose to give your Xenomorphs this as the following action. Acidic Bile, which has a recharge roll of 5 to 6. When used, the Xenomorph projects acid in a 30-foot line that is 5 feet wide. Each creature in the line must make a DC 14 dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 8d6 acid damage or half as much damage on a success. In addition, regardless of success or failure, non-magical armor is degraded by the acid. It gains a permanent and cumulative -1 penalty to its AC, and if that reduces it to an AC of 10, the armor is destroyed. The Xenomorph is a very dangerous monster, and one that only the most equipped adventurers will have a chance of withstanding. Now, how do we use the Xenomorph in a game of D&D? Whilst this can happen before the party ever get involved, it must always start with an egg. The first stage of the Xenomorph life cycle is the egg, which must be disturbed in some way to cause the release of a facehugger. From there, the chestburster can go on to perform whatever goal you desire. For lower level parties, I would suggest making it more like the original movie in that the threat is just one Xenomorph. For example, maybe the party have been sent on an expedition to an ancient temple or a crashed ship in a remote location. Shortly after they arrive, the guide gets cut off from the party, and whilst they explore the temple, the guide is implanted with an embryo. The party later find the body of the guide with a hole in the chest, and they will soon come to realise that something is now stalking them through the halls of the temple. When it's on its own, the Xenomorph is really going to want to prioritise stealth. It will wait until their prey is isolated and vulnerable before going in for the kill. If you want to build up the threat without immediately risking the lives of the party, you could have other NPCs around that are picked off one at a time. It would work even better if the party knew the NPC. The bodies could serve as ways of informing the party on how to survive the threat. Look at how Alien Isolation handles this. You must use your wits and tools to avoid being spotted by the Xenomorph because you stand no chance if it finds you. Each encounter with the Xenomorph need not be a threat. Perhaps the party simply hear it killing another NPC in the chamber next to them, or they catch a glimpse of the creature slipping back into the dark. The party would have two options: escape, or find a way to kill it. A whole adventure could revolve around escaping this temple whilst also learning more about it. After all, who built the temple? Why was there an egg here? Why does it seem to be built for the Xenomorph specifically? Are there any more out there? Let's not forget that Spelljammer works perfectly for a Xenomorph story. The party find an empty ship drifting in space only to learn that it isn't empty. And that's just with one Xenomorph.
Happen a little more!
Due to how dangerous they are, even a mid-level party would struggle with multiple Xenomorphs without proper preparation. Aliens showed us that if you have the right tools and training, then fighting a group of Xenomorphs becomes an action movie. A higher level party could be deployed into an area where an outbreak of Xenomorphs has occurred, and a hive has been built. Whilst I haven't made a sheet for the Alien Queen yet, you don't need to have one. Though it was cut from the film, there is the option of hosts being turned into eggs for that extra dose of body horror. The goal could either be to destroy the hive before the Queen can be formed. But, of course, not many games of D&D get to high levels, so what if you still want to use more than one Xenomorph for lower levels? Perhaps you could make it a form of wave survival. The party are holding out somewhere and is besieged by a group of Xenomorphs. Now they have to work out ways to repel the threat without just relying on brute force. Let's not forget the classic story of a rich and arrogant noble who wants, or wanted, to capture a Xenomorph, which caused a whole chain of events to occur. Much like the aliens themselves, Xenomorphs can be applied in countless ways to a game of D&D. But with that, we've reached the end of today's video. Before you head off, I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope you managed to get something out of this. The stat block for the Xenomorph is available on D&D Beyond for free, and the link to it is in the description. I hope you all have a great day, and may your dice roll favourably. Goodbye for now.